I'm ready to engage the commissioners. Commissioners, for the record, the next witness for appearance today was scheduled to be Advocate Andrea Johnson. She unfortunately will not be available today to testify, and her counsel is ready to address the commission on the circumstances leading to this state of affairs. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Zillo. Yes, Mr. Bodlani.
Thank you, Commissioners. Shortly before my arrival on the venue this morning, the representative of the client received a telephone call from one of Advocate Johnson's protectors, informing us that she's not able to be with us. They are rushing her to hospital. I don't know what has happened.
This happened this morning?
This happened this morning, as we were on the way to the venue. And then during the adjournment, only then were we able to get a sick note or a medical certificate from her doctor. But the client's representative were able to talk to the doctor shortly before we convened, before the adjournment we had this morning. And we were made to understand that she is with the doctor. She had some serious health-related issues that I'm not able to disclose in public, and that she is being attended to. The medical certificate in our possession indicates that she is not well, at least between today, the 13th of July, 2026, including the 15th of July, 2026. I do accept that this affects the conduct of the affairs of the Commission, because the Commission had its own agenda, its own program for the week. But the circumstances are such that, as my colleague, Ms. Silo, has indicated, the Commission would not be able to conduct its business today in circumstances where the person who was scheduled to be here is not able to be here.
Thank you, Mr. Bodlani. I think at least twice you referred to the representative of your client. Who are you talking about?
That would be Mr. Maga.
Or from the NPA?
From the NPA, yes.
Oh, all right, I understand. Thank you very much.
Chair, for the record, we have been provided with a copy of the medical certificate, and I think copies have been made for the commissioners. I beg leave to hand them in for the record.
Thank you. I noticed that this is one of those medical certificates, the nature of which I've previously said are useless, in the sense that they give no information whatsoever. It's not even a case of what Mr. Bodlani said, which is confidentiality issues. It's just one of those useless so-called medical certificates.
And Chair.
But anyway, the bottom line is that Advocate Johnson is not here.
The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry suffered an unexpected setback on Monday after a key witness, Advocate Andrea Johnson, was unable to testify after being admitted to hospital just hours before she was due to take the stand. Johnson, who heads the Independent Police Investigative Directorate's Anti-Corruption, IDEC, was expected to give evidence on matters relating to the handling of a criminal complaint involving Deputy National Crime Intelligence Head, Major General Feroz Khan. Her legal representatives informed the Commission that she had been hospitalized and was medically unfit to appear. Senior evidence leader Advocate Mahlape Silo SC confirmed that the Commission had received a medical certificate explaining her absence. Johnson's testimony had been among the most anticipated of the inquiry following the evidence presented last week that linked her to allegations of interference in sensitive investigations, including the criminal probe involving Khan. Her appearance was expected to provide crucial insight into the conduct of IDEC and its role in investigating high-profile corruption allegations. The claims against Johnson form part of the Commission's broader investigation into allegations of corruption, political interference, abuse of power, and governance failures within the South African Police Service, with a particular focus on the Crime Intelligence Division. Her sudden absence has delayed what was expected to be a pivotal day of the proceedings, leaving several critical questions about the handling of the Khan investigation unresolved. The Commission is expected to announce a new date for Johnson's testimony once her medical condition allows her to appear. Meanwhile, the South Africa's financial disclosure system for public servants meant to deter fraud and corruption has loopholes that enable the concealment of assets and interest. This is according to the testimony of Dr. Albertus Schoeman, an anti-corruption and governance expert at the World Bank. He was testifying before the Madlanga Commission last week about existing disclosure regime for senior officers within the criminal justice system and necessary reforms to combat corrupt infiltration. The Public Service Regulations 2016, PSR 2016, require government employees to disclose their financial interest annually through a manual form or an e-disclosure system, which is electric. Schoeman told the Commission that there are two major loopholes: the exclusion of government employees' family members from the disclosure system and the disclosure form's silence on beneficial ownership. His testimony came after the Commission heard that the suspended Deputy Head of Crime Intelligence, Major General Feroz Khan, assisted businessman Ismail Vali by facilitating an SAPS motor spare parts tender, which was advertised through the National Treasury in 2021. Khan later received 150,000 rand cash, a luxury watch, and a V8 car from Vali. The Commission also heard that the funds were transferred to Khan through his minor son's bank account. Schoeman said the current form, structure, and disclosure requirements only apply to the individual who is a public servant. We know from international experience that this is insufficient. One of the easiest ways to conceal your financial interest and wealth is to place, say, companies under the name of your immediate family members. So it does not really take that much to hide these assets in the current framework. He added that the inclusion of family members in disclosures is necessary because it does not require moral sophistication to put a company in your wife's name who might be doing business with the state, or the names of your children to put a car or at least a property that you received as a gift in somebody else's name. And said part of the challenge with not extending those requirements with the immediate family members of public servants is both the concealment of those assets and financial interest. He added that this also negatively impacts the management of conflicts of interest, where the state might be unaware of the public servant spouse's financial interest. For an example, in medical supplies, where an employee works for Department of Health, he said this could potentially cause a direct conflict of interest, and said in the current regime, that is not something we will be able to directly consider because we don't require that kind of disclosure to be made in the disclosure form. This is a very common issue that we see internationally. He added that as a way to get around this prevalent challenge, many countries have begun introducing requirements to extend these kinds of disclosures by public servants. On the form's silence regarding the disclosure of beneficial ownership, he said it omits several categories of assets, including jewelry, livestock, artwork, precious stones, monetary assets held within or outside financial institutions, such as safe deposit boxes, liquid savings, and bank accounts. Schoeman also pointed out the disclosure form's exclusion of virtual and intangible assets, such as cryptocurrencies and digital tokens, which can hold significant value and facilitate wealth movement outside traditional channels. He also noted that the form is silent on what declarants are owed and only documents declarants' debts, adding that loans to third parties could conceal the transfer of illicit cash as legitimate loans. What's your take on this one, people? Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more news.